Hello, this is Karen from Vintage Violet. Just thought I'd show you a lovely journal that I've made for a friend of mine. She's having a birthday on Monday and I've been working on this just for a little while. It's a pretty simple type of journal, but I just thought I'd like to share it with you. And yeah, so I'd just like to show you, I've made a little tassel to go at the back of the journal. Just added a few little bits and pieces, second-hand type of junk jewellery to go with the beautiful junk journal. And this paper here, I've actually shown you this before. I purchased this from a person who makes it, and she actually lives in Paris, and I just couldn't resist putting it over the edge of the spine of the book. You'll notice that it's just a normal book cover. Found it in an op shop with a book that I probably wouldn't have read normally, and I just loved the red cover on it, and because it was in really perfect condition, I thought this is the one I'm going to use. And I really love the inside of it as well, which I'll show you in a minute. So yeah, I've just put a simple closure here. Closure is just a little knob that you can purchase at places like Spotlight or Big W or Kmart, anywhere that sell craft. Kaiser actually sell them also. I was in there the other day and I noticed that they have a big bag full of them, and I thought next time I need them I'll go there and get them. So I've just placed it on the top and on the bottom on the other side. Just there you'll see I've tied the seam binding to the back, and I've attached a little circle, a little steel circle to the front, just so that it can clip over. So all my friend has to do is just press it down, lift it up, and there you go. Easy opening, easy closing. I found it a little bit easier than just tying ribbons around. I think it's probably an easier way really, where you're not going to be losing the ribbons or pulling them too tight all the time. I was using belts with really funky buckles on them, and I'll still continue to use that, but I find that this closure is probably one of the more simple closures that I've made. And I just love seam binding. It's so soft and beautiful and easy to work with, and just popped a few colours there that tend to tie in a little bit with the colours in the journal. So here we go. As I said, it's just a simple journal. I haven't gone over the top with my friend. She's a little bit older than me and probably doesn't appreciate the vintage the way that I do, but she does love anything that I give her, and so I'm just happy to share a little bit of myself with her. And she can use this anytime she likes. They tend to travel quite a bit, so I thought of that and thought, well, I'll put things in here that she might be able to use in her travels. This here, this beautiful part of an envelope, I've hacked it a little bit so that I could use it as a tuck there. Comes from Dreams, etc. She makes such beautiful pages, and I do tend to purchase quite a bit from her. So I just want to give her a little bit of a wrap here, and if you're looking for some really gorgeous papers to use in your journaling, she's a really good person to go and have a look at her work. She also sells on Etsy. Just placed a little angel at the bottom here that I bought off an internet site, on Wish, I think. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I just love the pattern on this, so I really couldn't put anything apart from a small amount over the top of it, and very happy with that. This is the original insert inside of the page of the book. So let's move on. Again, Dreams, etc. I've had to cover over the L here because I really needed to have a bit of a wider backing on my signatures here. So unfortunately I've covered over the L for journal, but what I'll do is I'll probably calligraphy one in there before I give it to her tomorrow at church. All my pages are stained with Parisian Essence. I tend to do this as I love the difference that it can often come out a little bit more mottled, and these pages were actually dried out in the sun on the brick cell in the backyard. I've printed a little saying here for her and added a couple of stickers. I do tend to do a lot of printing as well as stamping on some of the pages that I put in my journals, but I just wanted something a little bit different for my friends, so I've printed a couple of pages. Made a little tuck here out of Dreams Etc. paper again. Sometimes I muck up some of the pages that I'm using, so I don't throw anything away, and I tend to use them as pockets or anything else that I can think of to put in my journal. I'm a bit of a bowerbird, I don't throw much away. And this is one of the lovely envelopes that come from Dreams Etc. pages as well. I've put a vintage paper that I found at my local op shop. I've covered the back of the envelope with that, just a lined paper, and that's a true vintage there, so just another little thing that she can write in. And these are some of the journal cards that I make with a pattern that I found off the internet, and I've put a little Bible verse here and there on some of these, and I know my friend will love that, as she's a Christian like me, and we just love to read the scriptures, and some of these things are really quite uplifting, so I've popped that in there too. Made this little tag. As you can see, I've antiqued some lace, and this is the pattern that I was talking about that the Parisian Essence tends to give you. It just sort of flows with just makes its own way, I suppose, as it's drying. This is a little tag that I made. I try to put a little embellishment on things, and this paper flower is just something that I use with my cutting mat, and made it and actually painted it. So I made some runny acrylic paint and just dipped all the flowers that I made. I had a bit of a flower making day one day, so I probably made 50 of these with different coloured paint, and that's the outcome. It's a little bit stiffer than I thought it would come out because I've used card instead of paper, but I've also put some embossing on here, just these little bits here, and a saying that I know that my friend will appreciate. They're just antiqued again. The Parisian Essence gives it such a beautiful random effect, really. Nothing will ever look the same as anything else when you're using the Parisian Essence. And I've sprayed some runny mix of the acrylic paint that I use. I use the Jo Sonja brand of paint. I've always used these brands, and they're made by Chroma Australia, so they're Australian owned and made, and I try to support local where I can, and the handcrafter, but the paints they're archival, and they'll never lose their tonality. I suppose their colours will always remain as sharp as the day you use them. So I love them because I know they're going to last forever. They're not going to fade in any way. So you can be guaranteed of, if you use those type of paints, that your work is going to stand the test of time. And just put a little bit of seam binding here, a few random colours that I felt toned in with the actual tag. I made a few of these, just printed them up on my computer. This is a bit of vintage paper or card that I found at a second-hand store, and as I said, I try to find lots of different things that sway into the vintage style. That's my bag, that's where I'm at. Most of the stuff that I do has a vintage feel about it. I tried to do things that are sharp and shiny and new looking, but I just keep going back to vintage. I can't help myself. And I suppose, you know, everything we do and make is a part of who we are and our personalities. We tend to come out in the things that we create. So most of the things I create will be vintage style. I've added some beading to each of these little notes that I put, little tags that you can slip in just to decorate the page, really. Again, another beautiful page made by Dreams Etc. And yeah, we'll move on. Made this little clip just recently. I've made quite a few of these. Really just a piece of lace stuck onto a clip, and put a little, I don't know if you can see that in the shining, little gold insect there, and I've placed some little beads on the end of it just to doody-dar it up a little bit. And that tag will come off there. That's just another piece of writing paper for my friend. Little tuck. If originally I had that just sticking in there, but I've decided to put a clip on it just to hold it still. Another page from Dreams Etc. All the pages that I've put in here, apart from my own work, will be from her site, so please go and have a look. She does some really lovely stuff. Again, I've used a scrap of paper here, this beautiful textured paper that I bought from Paris, and I've cut up some little doilies just to add a little random bit of lace there. This one here I used because I found a really large roll of this vintage paper, and I thought, yes, I can put that in there for a little note. So just extra place to write, really. And just again, a couple of extra tags. I put the lined paper on all the backs of all my tags in here just to make it easier for my friend to write on about her adventures. And these pockets here, I usually make a whole pile of them when I make them. Just cut them out on my cutting mat and added a bit of lace, a sticker here, and washi tape. I love this washi tape. It's just so beautiful. I'm very into William Morris type designs, and some of my paintings are extracted, I suppose, from his original designs. But this, my daughter gave me this for Christmas as a part of a gift, and I just love it. So I use it with all my journals now, just different types of washi tape. Again, just a couple of lined journal tags there. This I printed on with my printer. I cut this out of an internet picture that I found that was copyright free, and I took all the background out of it, and because it's Forget-Me-Nots, I put Forget-Me-Not. I thought that was a really nice heading for my friend to just start journaling here. This pattern you see on the paper came about because of I was drying it on one of these beautiful old wrought iron tables out the back, and as it was drying, it seemed to just take up the pattern of the tables. So if you're looking to do something a little bit random and interesting on your pages, this is a way to go. It was just so stunning. Again, just another pocket made out of a scrap piece of paper that I probably ruined trying to do something else, and a couple of journal cards there. This I took off the internet, and I got it from I think it was the Vintage Fairy or something or other. I'll try and remember her site and put it on my post. But just a little lace card. I've added some seam binding there as a special little extra gift for my friend to use if she needs to make some tags or cards. Again, more beautiful paper from Dreams Etc. And I love these. This comes in a set. This is an envelope that actually opens out. And I've cut it, but I've also put that vintage journal or vintage lined paper on the back of that, just for an extra journaling piece. If that was mine, I'd probably put if I was sending it, using it to send off to somebody, I'd probably just put an address stamp or something on the front of that and actually send that. It's so gorgeous. Again, my funky looking paper. So I'll pop that in there. Sometimes little random stickers just make the difference on a page. Again, I made another little journal clip. You can use these in your journals or your diaries or anywhere really, just somewhere to put some of these little tags that I've made. You can get some really good typewriter type fonts if you're looking for something a little bit old looking instead of the over-the-top swirly type of script. It's good because it's a clear words. So yeah, I just like them. So I've smattered them all throughout the book. Some of the pages are pretty normal looking. I've put lines on some and not on others. You'll see a gap here. I particularly like that, so my friend can actually add lots of stuff to her journal rather than having so many signatures in the journal that it's very bulky. I like that look too, by the way, but when I make my journals, I try to leave a little bit of room between the signatures just for extra bulking out of pages and just putting your own stamp on it, as it were. Again, I put a little bit of lace across here just as a pocket. Usually when I do this, I put it on the whole page, which will go across. You'll see it on the other side in a minute as I get to it, but it just helps keep things in place. I'm sure my friend will add lots of other beautiful things. And this is just a bit of paper I printed by mistake. I made a bit of a mess of it, but I thought, you know what, I'm not throwing that out, I'm going to use that. And so that's the back of it, and I've just added it to the page here just to extend the journaling opportunity. And I've put this little rhinestone here. I got this from a beautiful piece of old jewellery, and I've chopped it up. My grandmother would, if she wasn't dead already, she'd probably die if she knew what I was doing to beautiful old jewellery. But it just sort of worked as a weight just to hold this. The doilies are gorgeous and they look lovely, but they're not always really overly functional. So I try to figure out ways to help you use them in a little bit of a better way. So I've just cut up a doily here as well. Granny would not be pleased, and put this little diamante, I suppose you would call it. It's steel backed, so it's really gorgeous. Put that in there. Again, on the road again, as I said, my friend travels quite a bit, her and hubby, and they usually go up north for the winter where it's nice and sunny with their family, and so just put a few little random statements about travel in. Not that it's a travel journal as such, but this here, I've put the postcard in here, but the reason I did that was so that she could see that she could actually use this. I found these are actually vintage photo corners, and they're just stuck down to fit this size card, so I'm hoping that she'll consider using that for photos of her grandchildren, and yeah, just to have something a little bit different. I'll try and get it back in there. It will go in. Anyway, so we'll move on. So she can use that for photographs. Again, we have a tuck here, just underneath the pocket here, just for some extra journaling cards. A little flower that I made using my cutting mat, and I'm not sure where the flower actually came from as far as the design, but I think it might have been a Tim Holtz cutting apparatus, so I've used that just to put it here. And this is from Darcy and Elizabeth's old book that I just had lying around that I've absolutely butchered for all my craft work because I love it. And again, just another spot to put a tag. With this tag, same again, I've stained it with the Parisian Essence. You can see some of the pattern here of the wrought iron table as well. That's really cool. And I've used a little bit of vellum there, just she can journal in there and underneath, or she can give it away to a friend as a bookmark. But I've embossed the outside of the vellum and just popped a little bit of it's like a platinum look, I suppose. Not too loud, not too gold, but yeah, just seemed to work in with this particular journal. Again, just a couple of extra pages. This one here, cut up doily. I love the way you can use these for anything. I've used this here as a little pocket and just printed up. So actually I've stenciled with a stamp on this bit of paper, just extra random bits. It was just scrap paper, so I thought, I'm not going to waste it, just going to use it somehow and put it in there. And this is a stamp that I love, so I put that in there for my lovely Christian friend. I love this page. This is from Dreams Etc. again, and I just sort of had to put it in the centre so that my friend could use the whole page, and I'm sure she'll figure out something to put there about her journeys. Again, another little tag that I made, a clip, just out of some old lace and a flower and a few little vintage beads. I make earrings using these sort of beads, but I thought, you know what, we can use those for the journals as well. And I've done that again with these beads here on the side, just to doody-dar up a little bit with my tags. So there's 3, I usually put 3s. 2's never a good number, it's always 3s. When you're designing or creating, 3 always looks better than 2 or 1. So I usually use 3. Anyhow, moving on. Again, just some vintage paper on the back there. Again, you'll see the little tag with the beads on it. This was some vintage ribbon that I found, and it was a brownie colour, but I've dyed some of it in violet. My name is Karen, but my grandmother's name was Violet, and I tend to go by Violet for all my creations and even my artworks. When I paint, I put Violet on them as a name rather than Karen. So I love the colour that came out when I used some acrylic paint to dye this, as I tend to do with all my changing hues. And even this little rose, that used to be white, but I've dipped it in some of the same colour paint just to help it to tie in. And that, again, another beautiful little envelope that you can just use to write in, or write a nice message, give it to a friend, or just keep it as a keepsake in your journal. Just some notes. One of them has a little rhinestone on them just to be a little bit more fancy. I vintaged them all up. I've sprayed the back of these with the same Parisian Essence, but I just put the paper or the card down and sprayed it after I actually printed these up with the computer printer. And this here is just a little tuck that on the other side of it is an envelope, again from Dreams Etc., where I've actually done a double-sided print on that one and placed a couple of my little Bible journal cards in there for my friend to use. I found this on the internet as well. I couldn't even tell you where, but what I did was I doctored the photo and took all the colour out of it just to make it look old world and even cartoony. But I thought it came out all right. I think my friend will like it, just as a reminder of her travels. Again, just another postcard from Dreams Etc. There's that lace that goes through the other side. Another envelope under there. Let's put that back in there. Coming to the end. Gorgeous designs. Another one of my beautiful Bible sayings, I suppose. Some Romans, from the book of Romans in the Bible. Just another tag for my friend. This is the back of an envelope. We'll show you that in a moment. Again, you can see the space down the middle there. This is a gorgeous vintage flower that came out of, I think it was an old bridal bouquet. I came across the bouquet at an op shop, and I thought, yes, I'm going to grab that and use it. So I've been using it and taking the flowers out individually and just placing them. This is just an old piece of lace that I thought, you know what, we'll just doody-dar it up a little bit, put a bit of lace on it just for something different. Again, just a place to put your journal cards. Again, you can see the pocket here where I've got another journal card over the back here. And this is the envelope I was talking about. It just backs onto this page where I can use that as a tuck, which I did to put that in. I'll just leave that there. Again, some more little clips that I've made. I'm probably going to be putting those on Etsy at some time, just to see if they'll move along a little bit. Again, just a random picture that I drew on there and then copied onto the page there. And these just some little journal card postcards. I've placed this little bit of doily on it just to help it stay put on the actual lace there. Again, another pocket at the side, pocket at the top. It's just a random piece of paper that I've stamped and just placed in there. Look at the pattern on that. It's absolutely gorgeous. Very dark, but really gorgeous pattern that came off my wrought iron table at the back in my backyard. The same again here. This is just cut out of a big sheet of lace material, really. It's quite a solid sort of piece, so I've used this quite a bit in some of my creations, and this is the original colour, but for some of the rest of the material I've actually stained it with coffee just last week, and it turned out absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to be using that in the future on some of my cards and again in my other journals that I create. Just a little pocket there with a doily, a couple of extra pieces of card to journal on, another stamp that I have which comes from the Book of Romans. That was on, I think that was on one of the little journaling tags. Again, another envelope. The back of it has the lined paper, the vintage lined paper. Again, I printed these designs on here. This one here, I found a picture on the internet and it was a copyright-free picture, and so what I've done is I've just removed all the background out of it to give it a very interesting little look. As a time, looks like a compass for the travelling for my friend. Again, another envelope with the paper on the back of it. And these little tags here I hand painted, and I'm hoping to give some of these away soon, so if you leave a comment I might be able to send you some of them. But I've used a tag machine, or just a manual type of machine, to make the tag, and I've painted little roses on them and with some gold edging, and I've stained around the edge with some stamp ink. And rather than just use them as a normal tag that sort of sits at the side of the book, I've used them as a tag, but also as somewhere that I can actually just slot a small pocket, I suppose. I've used them as in this particular journal. I have used them as tags in other journals, but I just thought we can make that useful as well as beautiful. And I think William Morris actually said, don't have anything in your house that is not beautiful and functional, and I suppose I'm filling the brief there. So just added another little tag there. Coming to the end here, another pocket with some extra journal tags. I'm really hoping my friend will add to this journal her own stamp of creativity and put some cards and things in here, but I've just done what I felt she would like. This is an envelope that I've used, cut out with my envelope maker, and I've stenciled this gorgeous piece here onto that and closed it. I haven't put anything in the envelope. My friend can work that one out as she comes to it. And just a few pieces of stenciled paper. And that's pretty much the end of the book. Oh, another envelope there, got a little tag in there, just a clean tag that you can write on. Well, I hope you've liked having a little bit of a look through, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. And I'm hoping to put up more journals soon. I'm in the process of making my daughter a beautiful journal. I'm trying not to be super vintage, but she feels that I'm actually filling the brief to her taste, so I'll put that up on as soon as I can. And I have another one to show you shortly that I've made for my lovely mother-in-law. And I hope you've enjoyed just walking through my journal. Thank you for watching.